Good morning, everyone. My name is Tzipporah, and I am going to be sharing with you a very brief and simple meditation practice for today. The goal of these practices is that we want to be able to invite you to be able to cultivate a very simple mindfulness practice for your day, because we're all going through a really difficult time, and it's important to stay connected as best as we can, and even that's through these virtual platforms, which is wonderful that we have that kind of technology, but also it's really important to be able to ground ourselves and center ourselves and be able to really find a sense of peace and ease and calm and joy, even while all of this chaos is going on in our world and things have suddenly changed quite dramatically for many of us. We're being forced to live our lives in a very different way. And it was all quite sudden, right? It really didn't have a gradual sort of onset. Things just kind of happened all at once, and so many of us were caught off guard, and we're being forced to really shift and adapt, which human beings are quite adaptable when it comes to having to navigate and traverse really difficult circumstances. So today, one thing that has been coming up for me, I know, in a lot of ways, is this idea of resistance, right? Like, what happens when we have these wellness practices that we know are good for us, and our doctors have told us they're good for us, and our teachers and our therapists and our friends and our parents and our family members have all told us how wonderful these wellness practices are, whether it's, exercise, eating a certain way, hydrating, meditating, practicing yoga, whatever the practice is, but yet we feel this kind of, resistance inside to that practice. And what I want to say about that is because I know for myself, I've been experiencing quite a bit of resistance lately, wanting to sleep more, skipping my daily walks every now and then, and just kind of feeling resistant to doing the things that I know are going to make me feel better and are going to help me stay healthy. So why do we have this resistance, right? And so one of my teachers once told me that the caves that we, and I believe this comes from possibly some of the literature from the yoga practices, and I'm not really sure who wrote this, so my apologies, because I do like to cite people. I think it's important, but I remember one of my teachers said that the caves that we resist entering are the caves that hold our finest and most profound jewels, right? So it was something like that. So these places that we resist going to are most oftentimes the places that it's exactly where we need to be and where we need to go. And resistance is a part of life, right? Resistance is an energy, it's an energetic quality, right? It's a movement, right? It's a gesture, right? So resistance is a part of life. Resistance happens in physics, right? In the natural world, there's resistance. If you've ever met like a really strong gust of wind, right? And you try to walk against it, or if you're in the ocean and the waves and the currents get pretty strong and rough, and you try to resist that, there's oftentimes, it becomes quite difficult, quite challenging, quite exhausting, right? So when we try to go against resistance, we usually end up depleted, exhausted, complacent, and so rather than trying to go against our resistance and to fight our resistance and to judge our resistance, what if we could think about it as going with the resistance, right? Just kind of allowing the resistance to be there, noticing it, not judging it, simply acknowledging it, that this resistance is a part of the ebb and flow of life. And what would happen if we could soften around that resistance and allow and accept and be okay that resistance is there, and take action to take action anyway, right? So when we feel resistance, sometimes not giving into the resistance and giving up, but actually saying, okay, this resistance is here, and I'm just going to allow it, and I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to go with it, right? So with that said, let's practice embodying that idea, that concept in our practice today. So I invite you to find a comfortable seat. And, keep in mind, standing up is fine too, right? The point of these exercises is that you can do them anywhere, right? So when, like I always say, you should be able to do it when you're standing in the checkout line at, the grocery store. Hopefully, we'll be going back to doing that at some point. And so when we are back in the checkout line at the grocery store, we should be able to practice these exercises. So go ahead and find a comfortable seat or a comfortable way to stand. And I want to invite you to take a moment and just kind of scan your body for any areas of tension or tightness. Notice if your spirit, if you are in a place of allowance this morning, or a place of ease, right? Or if you are in a place of frustration, or a place of discomfort, or a place of irritability, right? Just take a moment and notice that. Or if there's thoughts arising going, I really don't want to be doing this, but I'm doing it anyway because I know that it's good for me, or my doctor told me I should meditate, right? Because that's okay too, right? All of that. So what these practices do is they help us to start learning to embrace and accept all that comes in and out of our field of awareness. Our thoughts, our emotions, our physical sensations, and rather than resisting them and trying to push them away or dismiss them or ignore them, we learn to accept. And so I want you to imagine your body as a very strong vessel, right? We talked the other day about creating stability in the body, stability in the mind, because the idea is that our bodies are these vessels that are strong and stable and capable of weathering all kinds of storms. And so just take a moment to sit and notice your body as a strong, strong vessel. Notice the parts of the body that feel particularly strengthened and strong. And then perhaps parts of the body that maybe don't feel as strong. And so take a moment and notice what it's like to have these opposite energies in your body. So energies of strength, and then maybe energies of weakness, or areas that lack strength. Notice if there's a tendency to judge the area of the body that's weak. So notice any particular emotions that are present right now. Notice if within that range of emotions, if there's emotions that you feel particularly comfortable with experiencing, emotions that you enjoy feeling. And then notice if there's emotions that are present that you aren't so comfortable with experiencing, emotions that are not as favorable, or emotions or feelings that you wish would go away. Or just taking note, just making observations. Just exploring and experiencing the aliveness inside of us without any judgment. No judgment, no shame. If you haven't done so already, continue to explore the breath. You may choose to deepen the breath. You may choose to just allow the breath to flow in its own steady, unique, natural rhythm. Notice if there's any resistance in the breath. So maybe as you inhale, is there any resistance to fullness? And on the exhale, is there any resistance to slowing the breath down? Can you let go and allow the breath to slowly, slowly exit the body? So you see within us, inside of us, and all around us, we often have these different elements and energies of opposites, right? So there are emotions and sensations that we enjoy and we find favorable and we welcome. And then there are always going to be emotions and thoughts and sensations in the body that we resist, right? That we have an aversion to. So I invite you to really think about how this idea of resistance shows up in your body today and maybe tomorrow, and just to, again, be kind with yourself, give yourself grace around that. And if you're still in meditation, I invite you to kind of open your eyes and move your body a little bit to just kind of welcome yourself back into the space. And so when we encounter resistance, rather than pushing against it harder, what would happen if we allowed that resistance and we softened, right, in that encounter with resistance, kind of softened around it? And what happens when we do that versus trying to fight against it more? So I hope this was helpful for you today, and I'm really enjoying being here every morning, or as many mornings as I can with you. Again, tomorrow, I won't be with you tomorrow morning, but I will be back here on Friday. So I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and please feel free to reach out. Comments, questions, anything, all is welcome. And again, if you or anybody you know is in need of mental health care and or support, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us at Jewish Family and Career Services. We would be more than happy to help and support you with your needs during this time. Okay? All right. So I'll see you all on Friday. Take care. Bye.